Hello and welcome to another episode of Cards Unbarred. My name's Ryan, and in this video I'm going to show you the two-player only card game Duel Boy, designed by Masato Uesugi. As you can probably assume by the name, this is a dueling style game, similar to games like Android Netrunner or Rift Force or Air, Land, and Sea. Now, one of the really cool aspects in Duel Boy that I love is the card play works similar to a game like Marvel Champions, where there's a cost of the card to play it itself, and you do that by spending other cards as sort of a resource to pay for that card. So making a decision on what card you're going to play, knowing what cards are going to end up in your discard, is a really fun puzzle that I enjoy a lot in both Marvel Champions and specifically here in Duel Boy. And before I get too excited about this game, let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The game of Duel Boy consists of, well, you grabbing a random pack. Each player only needs a single pack to play the game, so for a full game of Duel Boy you will need 2 packs. Each pack will come with 7 duel cards, 5 which are white and those are known as units, and 2 that are black which are known as tactics. You will also get a divider card that is double-sided, a Duel Boy information card that is double-sided to list the components as well as the QR code for the rules, and finally a Duel Boy sticker, which is meant to be used as a calling card. Players will attach this sticker to themselves and walk around the convention or location where they're at, where other people are playing Duel Boy, and it allows you to signify that you're ready to Duel Boy. As you can see in the close-up of the card and throughout the entire video, the cards will be in Japanese, and that is because the original version of Duel Boy is in Japanese only. However, if you wait to the end of the video, I'll explain how you can get a hold of an English version. But in the very top left-hand corner is the cost of the card itself to play it. To the right of that is the name of the card and what type of card it is. Underneath that, you have the strength with physical on top and magical underneath that. Directly below that, you have the type of ability that will trigger when the card is played, and then whatever the ability is underneath that. And here's the divider card, where you can see the trash can symbol, which is showing your discard pile. And in the opposite corners, you can see the hand symbol, which is, of course, your hand. And in the middle of the card, you can see the sword, which is the physical strength. And underneath that, you can see the spell book, which is the magical strength. You'll put this card in the orientation in your hand, depending on what the current battle is. To set up for a game of Duel Boy, players should take all 7 duel cards and shuffle them together. After shuffling, both players should look at their hand, but make sure to keep it hidden from their opponent, and deciding if they want to mulligan or not. If players like their hand, they will keep it as is. However, players do have a one-time mulligan, meaning if they are unhappy with their hand, they can shuffle their hand one more time, but then must keep that result. After both players have decided to mulligan or not, add the divider card to the leftmost part of your hand, light gray side up, and then determine a start player. You can do this by playing rock, paper, scissors, or determine randomly. After a first player has been decided, the first player will choose what type of strength the battle will be for that round. And you do that by using your divider card and choosing the strength face up in the orientation that you want to use. So in this case, magical, the book would be up top. So this round is magical. Both players should be taking their cards, their divider card, and doing this so both players know at all time what strength is being fought for. Once both players have done that, the round is ready to begin. The start player will choose to play any cards from their hand onto what's known as the field, trigger any of their abilities on any cards they play, resolve any attacks, and then it goes to the next player's turn. Players will go back and forth doing this until one player either scores 3 victory points or one player can no longer play any cards. On your turn, you will be able to summon cards from your hand into the field. The cards that you have access to are the 3 rightmost cards in your hand. The other limitation you have to summoning is only being able to play 1 white card and 1 black card into the field. on a single turn. You can always just choose to play one card. You don't have to play both, but you can never have two of the same color in the field. So as I said, when I want to summon a card, I only have access to these 3 rightmost cards. And pay attention to any costs that are shown in the top left corner to pay for that card. So if I wanted to play this card, it cost me 1. And to pay for a card, you simply take the divider card and you move it to the right, equal to the number of spaces the card cost. So this one cost me 1, so I move my divider card 1 space to the right. So this card is now in my discard pile, which is shown here, and everything to the right is in my hand. The other thing to pay attention to is whenever you play a card, if it has any summon ability, to trigger it as soon as you play it. There are 3 types of abilities. There's the lightning bolt, which is the summon ability as soon as you play the card. There's the infinity symbol, which is passive, which triggers while it's available in the field. And there's the skull and crossbones, which is the on death, which means after an attack, when it's getting discarded, it'll trigger that ability. And I could choose to play another card from my hand, as long as one of my 3 rightmost cards is a black card, or I can choose to just play this card and be done. So let's just say I play the Minotaur card and I finish my turn there. I now make an attack against my opponent. My opponent doesn't have any cards in the field, so the attack is successful and my turn is over. Another thing to point out is you cannot freely discard cards from your field. If you summon a card and it stays out due to some ability that doesn't discard it from an attack or another opponent ability, you can't summon over that card. They have to be removed from the field during an opponent's attack or ability before you can play another one. And so looking at our opponent's hand, they can again choose to play 1 black card and 1 white card from their hand, as long as it's the 3 rightmost cards, paying any costs associated with it. And what they are trying to do is making sure that their magical strength on the cards they play equals or exceeds the value on my card in play, or cards if I had both. So in this case, they could play this card, which costs 1, move the divider to the right 1 space, and now they have a strength of 1 magical to my 1 magical. So right now they could end their turn and attack me, and their attack will be successful. But they choose to also play this tactic as well to give them a strength of 2 to my 1. And now because they've played 2 cards, they can't play anything else, so their turn is over and they make an attack against me. Again, as I've already reiterated here, their attack is successful because they have a strength of 2 to my 1. So my card is now going to be discarded. And to do that, you simply put it back in your hand, in the leftmost part of your hand. If you have multiple cards to discard, you choose the order they get discarded in. Now it is my turn again though, and I am trying to beat a strength of 2. Again, looking at my 3 rightmost cards, seeing if there's any white and or black cards that I want to play, and making sure that I equal or exceed their value. So I could play this card, which costs 0, and it has a strength of 2, and I could end my turn there, which I will. I make an attack. It is successful, so they now discard their cards in any order of their choice. So maybe they choose this one, and then this one. And now it is their turn again to beat the strength of 2. Players will be going back and forth like this until you either can't play any cards to equal or exceed your strength, or you don't have any cards left in hand. At that point, the round is over, and the player that won the round will choose one of their cards that is face up to flip face down and create as a victory point. Then put it in their discard pile, reminding them that they have a victory point, but they do not have access to that card as a card anymore. It is simply a victory point, but it can still be used to pay for cards. If you have a victory point card in your hand and it's one of your 3 rightmost cards, you actually skip that card. So really the 3 cards that I have are these 3 here. So victory point cards are simply there to be used to be spent to pay for other cards. They never block you or force you out of it, situations where you might be stuck if those are your only cards there. So just know that you're allowed to skip over that card when counting. Then the next round would begin. The player that lost the round would start the next round, and they would choose which physical or magical strength they are fighting for this round. So maybe the player changes it to physical. Now, once a player is out of cards in their hand and only has their discard pile, what are you supposed to do? Well, the one thing you can do in this game one time the entire duel is revive your hand. What you'll do is you'll take your divider card, flipping it to the dark gray side, and then moving it all the way back to the left part of your hand. Now creating all of the cards to be in your hand again. The other way you can win the game is if your opponent has gone through their hand twice, meaning the divider card is on the dark gray side and they have no more cards in hand to summon. At that point, the game is automatically over, no matter the amount of points you have, because your opponent can no longer summon any cards, so they can never attack again. So you can get 3 victory points, or your opponent can't play any cards. After that, the winner has been determined, and you will trade 2 cards with each other. So after the duel, the loser of the duel will choose 2 cards from the winner's deck to put into their deck, and then give 2 cards back to the winner. When taking and giving cards to your opponent, there's no limitation on what cards you can take. You don't have to have 5 units and 2 tactics. You could make your deck have all tactics, all units, whatever you'd like. You're not forced to take and trade back the same color type of card. There are also drafting rules for 2 players. As long as you have at least 14 cards, you'll be able to do the drafting rules as I explain here. Take all 14 cards, shuffle them together, and deal 7 cards to each player. From those 7 cards, each player will choose 3 of them, putting them face down in front of them, and give the remaining 4 to their opponent. Then from those 4 that are passed to you, you'll take 2 cards to keep from there, handing the other 2 to your opponent, and you will have your 7 card deck. If you plan on playing Duel Boy throughout an entire game day or at a convention, there is also a scoring setup for that. A player's score will consist of 1 point for each player that you play against. You must play against multiple people. If you play the same person multiple times, it does not add any points. And you'll get 1 point for posting memories of today's game on social media. And most importantly, no matter how many points you score, you are the winner of game day. And as promised, here is where you can find the English version of the game. As you can see on the screen right now, there is a website, which I will include the link in the show notes below, but you can also see it pop up on the screen here real quick. This is where I have created print and play files for the game. The English version of this game is not officially available like the Japanese cards are in a physical version. This is my creation where I spoke with Masato, the designer himself, and he has allowed me to share these English files that I created with everybody. So all you need to do is enter your email below in this section, click on the Ready to Duel Boy button, and it'll send me a notification. And I will be sending these out to that email so that way you can print them out, cut the cards up, slide them into card sleeves, whatever you want, and be able to play Duel Boy. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Duel Boy. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching.